everybody, this is Peter Hernandez, and this is The Core Truth. Thank you for joining us. Today I have Suzi Farajiani from the Beverly Hills office with us today, and it's going to be a very, very interesting conversation because we're going to talk about adapting, we're going to talk about changing, we're going to talk about succeeding in the face of adversity, and just kind of always being on point and being on target, and yet also being human, because we're all humans. So Suzi, welcome to this call, The Core Truth. Really great to have you. How are you?
Thank you so much, Peter. I'm so grateful to be on. I was really thankful that you reached out to me as a guest and truly honored to be here to chat with you.
It's my pleasure and my honor. Why don't you introduce yourself to everybody just for a minute and tell us a little bit how you got into real estate, what you did before, and just let us know who Suzi is.
Yeah, so my name's Suzi Farajiani. I'm 38 years old. I've been in the business since I was about 20 years old. I have a pre-law background and a PR, public relations background. I got into the business pretty young, working as an apprentice to an older woman who really taught me everything that I know. And then I ended up going into PR for a couple years and then came back to real estate. I've been doing it ever since. I'm an investor. I'm a flipper. I own, long-term tenant income property and short-term tenant income property. I'm an Airbnb superhost. I'm actually currently in the process of getting my contractor's license because of, flipping property over the last 10 years. I've learned so much. And I feel like, as we've said before, life is always changing. So it's always about like taking it to that next level and always growing and allowing yourself to push the boundaries.
Wow, how inspiring. 30 years old and flipping properties, investing in properties. When did you get into that? When did that actually start? What was your first property investment?
So my first property investment was about 15 years ago.
Wait. 20, that would be, what, you're 30 now? That couldn't have been.
I'm 38. So
38. 20, okay. All right. There we go. I thought you said you were 30. Yeah. All right. Cool.
Yeah. The first property I purchased was, I think,
23 years old.
Yeah, I was young. Yes, very young.
Wow.
And that was my first purchase. It was a little condo, nothing crazy. And it's funny because I purchased that property at the peak of the market. And it was right before the 2008 crash. And every single person told me, you overpaid, it was really funny because I actually believed in it. And it's really funny because it's when you give credit to what other people are telling you, you internalize it and then you believe that, and that affects you. And that's a whole other conversation. But everybody said to me, you overpaid for this property. You're never going to make more on the property than what you paid for it. And it was at that time the highest sale in that neighborhood. I think there were only 100 condos in that neighborhood, and it was the highest sale. And it's funny, because I actually sold that property a year or two ago. I think it was 21 when I sold it. And I ended up going probably $500,000 over what I purchased it for. And so I always tell people that real estate, it's kind of like stocks. Like, you buy and you hold. If you buy and you flip and you really know what you're doing, because you really have to pay attention to your margins when you're flipping property. If you really aren't good at numbers and you don't understand construction costs and you don't understand how to prepare your margins so that you are set up to succeed, then don't flip property. I think the biggest thing I run into is so many people watching too much HGTV, thinking that they know what to do, and then getting into the process of construction and realizing, oh, I actually don't know what I'm doing, or things cost a lot more than I thought they would. And so I always tell people buy and hold. And now it's funny because I actually regret selling that, but whatever's meant to be will be. I was able to put that into another investment, so that was what was meant to happen. But I look at that now and I think, wow, gosh, everyone said that I was never going to make more on that property. Everyone said that I overpaid for it. Everyone said that I bought at the peak of the market. And that is my best case study, because no matter what happens, what goes down must come back up. So no matter what, as long as you buy and you hold, then you're fine and you can succeed.
Would you describe yourself as a bit of a contrarian?
Yes.
In a sense?
Yeah, I agree. I think my understanding of contrarian is sort of someone who does things their own way and thinks outside the box. Is that right?
Correct.
So
yes.
I would wholeheartedly agree with that statement.
Or it goes against maybe everybody's opinion. Like if everybody's saying don't buy, you might think, wow, if everyone's not buying, I'm going to buy. If everybody, you know what I mean? If everybody's selling, I'm going to hold on. You might go the opposite way of everybody, is my point.
In the last 10 years, every good purchase that I've made, and when I say good purchase, I mean under market value, like under list price, I've made was always at the end of the year. So at the end of the year, a lot of people say, don't buy, but I actually disagree. I think that's the best time to buy. And I am a contrarian when it comes to being an agent, when I represent not myself, but my clients, because I really don't feel like I do things the way most people do them. I'm not a traditional agent. I'm more of a concierge type agent. I don't farm, and I'm not a neighborhood local person. I feel like that's thinking too small.
Mm-hmm. Well, you're building your real estate sales practice, your brokerage, you're flipping, and you're buying properties on the side. You're holding properties. You're an investor. I mean, you sound like the consummate business person. Have you always been interested in business?
Yes. Yeah. In college, I was business management and pre-law originally. Also studied communications, just because my father would always say, you can be the smartest person in the room, but if you don't know how to talk to people, no one's going to know how smart you are.
Wow.
And that always stuck with me. Yeah, that always stuck with me.
Do you have other good quotes from your dad?
Oh, well, I don't know.
That's a really good one. See, I have these like quotes from my dad that I just like play all the time in the back of my head. So it's funny.
I don't know if this is a quote, but it's more of like one thing and I think a lot of people may disagree with this, but something that there were a couple things that my dad did that I really liked. One, he was a doctor, and he was never one to put me on antibiotics. He was always the type of person where if I was sick, he would come in with like a liter of OJ and a liter of Listerine and give me the OJ and be like, that better be done by noon. I'm going to come back in. He'd give me like another liter of OJ or like a green juice. And then he would have me gargle with Listerine every hour, or salt water every hour on the hour. And he would essentially help me flush my system whenever I got sick. And to this day, I have a super strong immune system. I rarely get sick. I will only take an antibiotic if I'm absolutely dying. But the other thing that I learned from him was he was not really a big fan of having payments on things. He always felt like if you can't, and this is where I feel like a lot of people won't agree, but my dad was always the kind of person where he was very well established. He was a really respected doctor in his field, and did really well for himself. And then when he retired from his practice, invested in real estate. And that was kind of how I initially got the bug. And he always felt like if you can't pay for something in full, this didn't apply to houses, but in general, he felt like if you can't pay for something in full, you can't afford it. So when it came to cars or like electronics or anything, he was not a big fan of like financing things. So I'm kind of the same way where like, I don't like to have payments on things. I either can afford it and I'll buy it, or I can't afford it. And that's fine. That's the bucket list, or I'm going to get to that one day. So I'd say those are the big things that I learned from my dad.
So I think everybody right now should be fairly impressed with Suzi, if not really impressed, as I am. And that's why I have her on the call. But Suzi and I talk a lot about what we think is the real essence of success. And it's funny because when I talk to people at Suzi's level of success, it's always the same conversation. And it's that conversation that's going on inside our head. It's that mindfulness. It's that keeping yourself motivated no matter what is going on in your life. Now, you recently have been going through some stuff, and you actually have been dealing with that. But then you also, we call it you took your refuge in business in a sense. You poured yourself into business. Talk to us a little bit about that.
Yeah. So being fully transparent and having a vulnerable moment with you, I've had a very extremely difficult personal year. I'm personally going through some things that I never thought would happen and have completely turned my entire world upside down. And when you go through personal things, it's really important to lean on the people who are there for you and to really know who those people are. It's difficult because I know some of us might deal with depression or deal with anxiety. And truthfully, I've never been someone who understood either of those things. I never dealt with depression. I've never really dealt with anxiety. And this year in 2023, I dealt with both. And it's really, really hard. And it's given me so much empathy for people who do deal with it. I can relate to the people who say, I can't get out of bed in the morning, because I have had days like that. And I think that what really separates certain people is that willingness that we talked about. I may be, not wanting to get up at 6 o'clock in the morning to go to the gym, and I may not want to deal with it because it's cold out and I'd rather be in my cozy bed snuggling up with my dog. But I'm willing to do what it takes to lose the weight or get in shape. And that willingness is what has kept me going. And for me, I've sought refuge in my business because my business is always there. What I put into my business, I get back tenfold. That time and the energy and the hours I put into calling my sphere, cold calling, door knocking, holding open houses. Yeah, we're agents. There's plenty of times where we do those things. And I think a lot of agents think like, oh, I didn't get anything out of it today, so it was pointless. That's so not the case. You can take every single situation and turn it into an opportunity for yourself to grow, to learn something, to have a good interaction with someone, to say, oh, you know what? I didn't get leads at this open house today, but I had really good conversation. And it kind of made me think of maybe switching my script. That's a light bulb moment. That's a win. That's a good thing. And so I have leaned very heavily into my business going through personal things because I found that pouring more of myself into it has actually been replenishing me back.
Mm-hmm. You know, we talked about the idea that life is never perfect. And so many people, I think, are trying to create that perfect life, or they're trying, or maybe it's even worse than that. They expect life to be perfect.
I agree. If there's a thing I learned this year was, and Oprah actually said it best. She said, you can have everything you want in life, but you just can't have it at the same time. And I do agree with that. It's funny because I'm very much a perfectionist and I'm very much a control freak. And I like everything to be a certain way. And so for me, I've noticed, because I have a journal practice, I have a morning ritual practice. And I've noticed as like I'm going through what I'm going through this year, I've actually gone back and read my journals over the last several years because I keep journals. I've been journaling since I was in like third grade. And I read through a lot of my journals, and it's interesting because I've written about how, gosh, it's really hard because my business could be thriving, but my personal life suffers. Or my personal life could be thriving and my business suffers. Or my personal and my business are thriving and my family is great and I've gained 30 pounds. And it's like, not everything in your life is going to be perfect. And if anyone's going to ever say that, like, that's why when I heard Oprah say that line, I was kind of like, wow, if anyone's going to know, it's going to be her, because that woman has access to everything. And I'm not in her position and I'm still trying to make everything perfect. And I think it's that surrendering, that letting go and focusing on, okay, what's right in front of me right now? Okay, what's right in front of me right now is it's 6 o'clock in the morning. I really don't feel like going to the gym, but I really want my body to look a certain way. All right, I'm just going to get up and I'm going to do it. And once I get to the gym, I'll find something to do. It's I don't have a sale this month. All right, well, what's the thing that's right in front of me right now? I can post content on social media. I can call my sphere. I can cold call. I can door knock. I can host someone's open house. I can find ways to sort of churn up business as long as I look at what's in front of me. And I think a lot of us, myself included, we get really bogged down by like the big picture. And I say this because I've gotten that way, where a big picture thing will scare me. But then if I focus on what just the next right step is, whether it be, I'm not good with my mental health today, I need to call someone, or I need to go to therapy, or I'm going to go outside and take a hike and be in nature and ground myself. Whatever that next right step is, and that willingness to look at that versus, well, I'm not going to be the top agent this year. I'm not going to be like the Altmans. I'm not going to, that's going to bog anybody down. So it's about focusing on that next right step and being willing to do that. And that's really hard.
The willingness factor is what we're talking about here. So you have this saying of do it anyways. What do you, is that something you say to yourself, or what does that mean actually?
Yeah, because I feel like motivation is bull BS, because it's not always there when you need it. I'm not motivated to go to the gym at 6 o'clock in the morning. I'm comfortable in my bed with my dog like curled up next to me and I'm warm. I don't want to get out of bed and be cold and put on gym clothes. It's like, motivation is crap. I'm sorry. I think a lot of it's BS. And I think that, there's some of the great speakers like Mel Robbins, Tony Robbins, some of the like Tim Ferriss, some of the Andrew Huberman, like some of the big podcasts that I listen to, and some of these great intellectuals and thought-provoking leaders, they talk a lot about the fact that like you're not going to have the motivation to do something. It's really just about doing it. And what I've learned is through action, the motivation actually comes. So like if I'm willing to do the action, once I'm doing the action, then the motivation comes. To use the gym for like a easy example, it's like once I'm in the gym, once I'm on the gym floor, I'm there. It's like, oh, I know how to do okay, I'll go do push-ups. I'll go over here, or I'll go on the cardio equipment today. And once I'm on that treadmill, I like the endorphins start to come in, and you start to feel better within like minutes. It's truly such a shift. And once you have that feeling, that's why I always just say, like, just do it. Like, just get over with. Just get it over with. Like, are you scared of making that phone call to your sphere? Just do it. Are you scared of doing a cold call or going to the door? Just do it. Because guess what? If that door slams in your face, is that person paying your bills? Is that person tucking you in at night? The chances are it's no to both of those. So you're going to be fine. And it's all about perspective. That's why I say focus on the next right step and not the whole picture.
So, people are bemoaning the market. They're crying foul play. Interest rates are high. Inventory's low. There's all this stuff going on. And you're having your best year ever. What are you doing? Why? How? What do you think it is? Is it the mindset?
I think it's mindset. I think it's having systems in place and really building a business. I think a lot of people treat it like it's sort of a hobby. And I get really frustrated with most agents and the way they operate in the business, because I don't feel like most agents listen, and I don't feel like most agents really lean in. And Brad Feldman, who's the manager of the, I think, Laguna Niguel office, he really inspired me years ago, where he was like, it's all about systems. You need to have a solid CRM. You need to have a system in place of how you manage your transactions, how you reach out to your clients, how you touch people, your marketing, whether it be farming or whatever it is you choose to do. And I really believe in doing things that are true to myself. I'm not a typical farming agent. I'm not a neighborhood agent. I've built a lot of my business on Sphere and social media. And it's not like I'm new to the business. I've been in this business a long time. So I've been posting for like a decade. I've been calling my Sphere for a decade. Or cold calling or door knocking. And I have so much experience. And I've also been in coaching. Coaching is a really, really, it's hugely beneficial, because having the right coach, and I always think you should have different coaches. I don't think you should ever tie yourself to one coach for like 10 years. Have a coach for a few years. If it's going well, stay with them. But if you feel something's off, listen to that and lean into something else. Having coaches to help me set the right mindset and put my systems in place, and actually like pushing me like, okay, Suzi, like, you don't need to go, like, I love how you always talk about the logo. Like, I don't need to spend all this time on my logo. I should be spending that time on the phone. And it's funny that you say that, because for years I didn't have a logo, and it was something that I would like tinker around. And then I ended up having a coach who pushed me really to focus on the systems. One of my clients ended up being a graphic designer. And I didn't even sell them a home. I ended up finding them a rental. And as agents know, rentals are not as lucrative, but I don't say no. To me, it's not about the money. It's about the relationship. If I like the person, doesn't matter if it's a rental, I'll work with them. And I helped this woman find a rental. And it was pretty low budget. It was nothing crazy, but I really enjoyed her. And I really loved the relationship that I formed with her. And her and I are still friends to this day. And as a thank you for helping her find her rental, she offered me a free graphic design session, and I gave her some ideas, and she made my logo for me. I didn't even have to do it. And That's all from just showing up and doing the work, and it shows up for itself. That's why I say what you put into it, you get back.
Yeah. It's so funny. I mean, it's like logos are, you break up the topic of logos. So I'm going to talk about logos for a minute. I think they're great. I mean, I think it's a great way for an agent to differentiate themselves in the marketplace. So I'm not against logos. What I'm against is that it becomes an arts and crafts project. And what you did is delegated it to an expert and ran with it. And that's what I would encourage anybody to do if they want one. I mean, branding a logo and spending all that kind of money to get that brand really well known and everything is hard. especially when you've got a brand like Douglas Elliman that is so well known already that you could just hook your logo to and use to actually push yours out further. But that's great. That's really interesting. So let's talk about change a little bit. I think people, as a rule, not even just real estate agents, but people struggle with change. And you seem like a change artist, like someone that almost gets excited about change.
Oh my gosh, I'm honored that you would say something like that to me, because I don't
Yeah.
feel like I am at all. I don't think I take that as the biggest compliment, especially coming from you, Peter. But I don't I the way that I feel emotionally about what you just said, I don't feel like I am. But if there's something I have learned about human beings, and keep in mind this year's been a huge introspective year for me, um, things are going to happen that are out of our control. And if there's one thing that all human beings have, whether you're, whatever your sexual orientation or your cultural background or whatever your situation is, we are all human beings. We all have the ability to create. And that's what I really, really learned this year, is that through change, I can create new. And it's scary. And I'm still in my change phase. This whole year has been a big change for me personally. But what I'm creating for myself, I'm still in the thick of it, and it's scary. But it makes me excited because I have a really good support system. I have really good resources. And I think having that kind of foundation is super important whenever you're dealing with change. Like, I think I talked to you about how I'm not drinking right now. I'm not sober, but I'm not drinking alcohol, and I haven't been drinking for several months. And it's just something that I noticed as I'm going through what I'm going through personally, that alcohol started making me more anxious. And so I decided to just cut it out, and I decided to focus on working out, and I decided to focus on my business and spending time with my family. And that's my foundation, and that's what I have for myself, and leaning on those people, whether it be a coach or a therapist or whatever that is, to get the help I need and to take it one step at a time. I can create from this change, even though on some days I feel like I don't know what I'm doing. But I think that we all feel that way, and I think that's what's helped me humanize it.
It's funny, I haven't had a drink in 38 and a half years. And, to me, it's like we have such an edge. I mean, the idea that we're going to use a drink to calm ourselves down at the end of a day, or that we're going to use a drink to be able to talk to people, or we're going to use a drink for whatever reason, we drink for. To me, it's like, to learn to do all those things and be all those things without a drink is where the power is. And so the edge that we get by not drinking and not being, a partier, I think is, and plus never having a hangover, always waking up feeling good, being able to go to the gym at 6 a.m. versus not even close because you were out all night. These kinds of things, I think, work to our advantage and stuff like that. I love what my brother said. He said he quit drinking too. And he said, there's just no edge in it. He says the edge is in not drinking. And I went, yeah, you have a good point.
I actually agree with you. I think it's interesting. The one thing I've noticed, and I know we briefly touched on this, was how much it bothered other people that I'm not drinking, and how I kept getting, like, I went to a thing a couple weeks ago, and probably 5 different people at the function were like, what do you want to drink? What do you want to drink? What do you want to drink? And I was like, I'm not drinking right now. And I just kept repeating myself. And I happened to be with my sister. And at one point my sister's like, she's not drinking. And, and then there's the people that go, why? And I just said, I'm just on a cleanse. It's not a thing. But what you put in your body and what you put in your mind and what you listen to, it all affects you. So like, I'm not really watching scary movies or thrilling movies right now. I'm not listening. This is going to sound so weird because I love hip hop and rap, but I'm not really listening to rap music right now. I'm not watching television. I'm not watching a lot of television right now. And the television that I do watch, it needs to be very lighthearted and funny. When you deal with grief is so difficult, and grief is not linear. It comes in waves. And when it comes, it can come over you. And, dealing with loss and grief can be such a complicated thing. And so I really want to protect myself. And the way that I do that is by not listening to things that are not in my highest alignment, not watching things like, everyone loves The Bachelor and these housewife shows. And don't get me wrong, they're all fun. But like a lot of those shows are people yelling at each other and arguing with each other. There's so much discord. Like, I don't want that in my mind.
Right.
I want
Right.
shows that are inspiring me. I want to, watch things that are going to make me question things or learn something. So I'm listening to a lot of podcasts, like some of the people that I mentioned earlier, so I can learn more. And I'm reading a lot of books right now because I'm taking some courses in construction. So that's, change is hard, but if you can find outlets that are not drinking, smoking, whatever that is, partying, that's the easier way to go. I get it. That's easy. I can just numb myself. But I think I read somewhere that an emotion, if you can sit with an emotion for 90 seconds and let it pass, you can function, you'll be okay. So if I get that emotion or I get that grief come over me, I let myself have it. It's okay. We're all human. And what can we do? We can create. So when I have that emotion, once I let that time pass, like I give myself that minute to 90-second time, and I really just ground myself. Like I check in with myself, like, Suzi, how are we doing? Are we okay? Like, I feel like crap right now. Okay, what can I do? Maybe I need to go for a walk. And whatever that is, like, do those check-ins, or I'll call my sister, or I call my mother. Like, go back to your roots, go back to your foundations. Like you always say, bring it back to basics. Well, my basics are my family and, my business. And those are the things that keep me whole and that I'm really passionate about. And so I just lean into that. So I think whatever anyone's going through, however hard of a time you're having, just know that, as they say, this too shall pass. It's not forever. And you have the ability to create. And just think about what it is you actually want. What do you want for your life? And you can create that no matter what. Just have the resources, have the help, and lean on that, because the answers will come as long as you just do it. As long as you're in the action and you're willing to do it, everything will come together for you. I promise.
All right. So here we're going to go. We're going to conclude with this. I just got this idea. So I'm going to ask you questions. And it's going to be like rapid fire. Okay? You ready? Favorite exercise?
Hiking.
Hiking. Favorite book?
Yeah. Untethered Soul.
Ooh, okay. Spiritual or not spiritual? Spiritual. Okay. Let's see. Favorite movie?
Oh, that's hard. Favorite movie? The only one I can think of is Step Brothers, because it's just so funny and silly.
That's good. How about favorite type of music?
Favorite type of music, I would say indie rock.
Indie rock. Cool. Favorite artist?
Yeah. Okay, this is gonna age me a bit, but like I grew up listening to the Beatles, so I'd say them or Incubus. Like those are my favorite like bands. I can listen to them any time of day.
Cool. All right. Well, that's pretty darn amazing, Suzi. You really, really are incredible, and you've knocked it out of the park today. I think everyone that's been listening to this has gotten something out of it. I know I have. We talk a lot about making the perfect day, trying to live it out the best we can, and then stringing those days together, which gives us successful weeks, successful months. Is there one thing every day you have to do, no matter what, that's really important to you? Like, what is the one thing?
It's kind of a two thing. But if I had to pick one, I would say be outside. At some point I have to be outside. Movement. Like movement is specifically outside if possible, but movement, because that gets your blood flowing and you'll notice a shift in brain chemistry. I promise you will. Once you move your body, things will come together. It's when you stay stagnant that then everything else will stay stagnant.
Wow. Well, thank you so much for being on The Core Truth. Thank you, everybody, for listening and watching this. I hope you enjoyed it. We'll have another one next week. Suzi, you're wonderful. Thank you. And here it is, another edition of The Core Truth.
Thank you, Peter. I appreciate you.